program where aliens that were living were in forced breeding programs with humans that had been abducted from war zones and from even the caravans of
What if I told you this isn't just some random bizarre claim, but a calculated distraction? And they absolutely do not want us asking why this is being pushed right now. We're watching Matt Gaetz put something this extreme into the public conversation with zero evidence. That should set off alarms immediately. And before we go any further, like this video right now, because that's how we grow. That's how we cut through the noise. And that's how we hold power accountable together. Because what you're about to see is being framed as hidden truth, as insider knowledge. But look closer. This is exposure of something deeper. Not aliens, not secret programs, but how easily the conversation can be hijacked. This is about credibility. This is about corruption of discourse. And this is about why we have to stay sharp. Here's the first move, non-human biologics. Notice how that sounds official, almost scientific. That's not accidental. This is a classic tactic. Use technical-sounding language to create the illusion of authority. But where's the evidence? Where's the documentation? There isn't any, just words. And notice how he frames it as something being hidden from us, something that needs to be out. That taps directly into distrust. It's emotional, it's provocative, but it's not substantiated. And that's the pattern. Trigger reaction first, ask questions later.
The most important information will be the biologics that are not human, that have been discovered. And like even some of the briefings that aren't classified just need to be out in the public. I mean, I had someone come and brief me who was in a military uniform, worked for the United States Army, that was briefing me on the locations of hybrid breeding programs where captured aliens were breeding with humans to create some hybrid race that could engage in intergalactic communication. An actual uniformed member of the United States Army briefed me on that.
Non-human biologics, interracial alien mating? What the F is going on? Look, wait a second. You had whistleblowers tell you this kind of thing?
It's fast. Hybrid breeding programs, intergalactic communication. This is where the claim moves from questionable to extraordinary. And here's the rule. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. But instead, we get none. This is where we have to pause and ask, why say this at all? Because when something is this extreme, it doesn't just inform, it overwhelms. It floods the conversation so that real grounded issues get pushed out of focus. And here comes the credibility shield. Whistleblowers. Notice how that word is used. It's meant to shut down skepticism. Because if you question it, suddenly you're questioning whistleblowers themselves. That's strategic framing. But here's the reality. Just saying whistleblower is not evidence. It's not verification. It's not proof. And notice how they avoid specifics. No names, no documents, no accountability. That's not transparency. That's narrative construction.
Human biologics, interracial alien mating?
Now we get a more detailed story, locations, titles, settings. This is where it starts to feel real. But again, notice the pattern, detailed enough to sound credible but unverifiable in practice. That's how you build a compelling story without risking accountability. And this is a classic distraction tactic. The more detail you add, the less people question the foundation. But the foundation still isn't there. No evidence, no corroboration, just a story.
A senior enlisted with the United States Army came into my office in Crestview, Florida, in a non-classified setting. I had members of my staff there. And what they explained is that the military ran a very secret program where aliens that were living were in forced breeding programs with humans that had been abducted from war zones and from even the caravans of migrants. Now, again, I didn't verify this, but what
This is the moment that should end everything. I didn't verify this. That's it. That's the whole story. If you didn't verify it, why are you telling it? Why is this being broadcast to millions? Because this isn't about truth. This is about amplification. Once it's out there, it spreads. It becomes part of the conversation. And that benefits anyone who wants to distract from real accountability. Now we get logistics, 6 to 12 locations, coordinated visits. It sounds structured. It sounds planned, but it's also conveniently impossible to verify. That's not a coincidence. This is how unfalsifiable claims are built. If it can't be proven, it also can't be disproven easily. And that keeps the narrative alive, indefinitely. That's not transparency, that's insulation.
What the whistleblower was telling me is that there were like between 6 and 12 locations around the country where this happened. And what he wanted was a group, members of Congress, to all show up at the same time at all of these different locations so that any of those activities could not be moved. And of course, it's a physical impossibility to get members of Congress to simultaneously show up at like 8 locations at one time. And so that never occurred.
What do you mean non-human biologics? Like this?
Well, that was the testimony of David Grush before the House Oversight Committee,
Yeah.
which I joined, and the testimony was that in crashes of craft that had been recovered by the CIA and through a special program that the CIA had for crash recovery, that it wasn't just the hard materials, it was also biologics, but that they couldn't identify a human source of those biologics.
Here's where it tries to anchor itself in reality, bringing in David Grush, the CIA, and the House Oversight Committee. Real institutions, real names. But watch the leap. Those references are used to legitimize something far beyond what was actually established. This is how narratives evolve. You start with something factual, then stretch it, then present the stretch as implied truth. And if we don't catch that in real time, it becomes accepted without ever being proven. So why does this matter? Because this isn't just about one clip or one claim. This is about how easily the public conversation can be manipulated. When figures like Matt Gaetz can introduce something this extreme without evidence, it shifts focus away from real issues, policy, accountability, power. That's the bigger picture. I want to know where you stand on this. Do you think this is real disclosure or a deliberate distraction from issues that actually impact people's lives? Drop your answer in the comments. Let's have that conversation, openly. The most damning part of this entire video isn't the alien claim. It's the admission, no verification, no evidence, and still maximum amplification. That is how misinformation spreads at the highest levels. That is how trust erodes, and that is how accountability disappears. We have to stay alert. We have to question not just what we hear, but why we're hearing it. Share this video, push it out, break through what feels like a mainstream media blackout, because the truth only moves if we move it. And if you're with us, subscribe to Progressive Wave.